A very warm welcome to this World Game Changers podcast, where your host, Paul D. Lowe, embraces many crucial conversations that compassionately contribute towards creating a better life and world. Paul's intention's very simple: to help get people's inspirational insights and motivational messages out into the world, so others may benefit.
All right, welcome back to a World Game Changing podcast. I am your guest host, Bob Conlin. I'm a professional certified coach with the International Coach Federation, an author, a father, a husband, and lover of all things relationship. We are back for part 2 with our guest, Rubria Mendoza, talking all things about intercultural relationships and how some of the unique challenges get presented when we're in a relationship with someone from a different country, a different culture. Rubria was born in Mexico. She's married to an American. And if you haven't checked out episode 1, please do. We talk all about how our identity gets shaped and honored in a relationship that's intercultural, as well as some of the communication challenges that we have, some of the opportunities that we see as well. So please check that episode out as well. And if you don't know Rubria has 20 years experience in a variety of areas such as accounting, organizing events and expos, and process management. She also co-serves with me on World Game Changers North America as our secretary and treasurer. And as I shared before, Rubria is one of those people that you meet and you just instantly feel connected to and instantly love. So Rubria, welcome back. I'm so excited to continue this conversation.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you. Thank you for all the warming welcome.
Yeah, it's easy to do. So I'm really excited about this topic today, and how it's impacted, and I'm very curious about it. Today we're talking about how our intercultural relationship can impact our children, right? Our children, I can only imagine like what's available in that conversation. And myself, I'm a new father. I've been a father, for the last couple of years. I still consider that new. I'm still learning a lot every single day. And, I can even see just in the relationship I have with my wife, she's, I think, 3rd generation Polish, totally Americanized, totally American. But even some of the ways that we raise our child are very differently informed from my experience growing up and from her experience growing up. Like perfect example is, when it comes to healthcare, she tends to lead more natural, holistic, like old world kind of, medicine, herbs and tinctures. And I'm very much like westernized, like, let's throw a prescription at it. Right. So like right there, that's, and that was shaped by, our childhood. They were shaped by our parents' upbringing and, very much our ancestral and historical background. So I'm very curious to hear your take on what you notice in this intercultural relationship around raising your children, supporting them, things like that. So where do you see to start this part of the conversation?
Yes, it's very interesting the example you put, because that's a lot of what happens here at home, with the kids. With in our family,
mm-hmm.
They have been coming from different backgrounds, different cultures. It has been very interesting now passing that, or including our children, right? How we are raising them, and it definitely takes a lot of communication, a lot, tons of patience.
Sure.
for my husband and I to go through. Just, any marriage, any family have coming from different, circles is a challenge already.
Mm-hmm.
And adding that, coming from a completely different culture where not necessarily you knew what is entitled to, And it comes with a package kind of thing, and then you learn on halfway and like, oh, yes, how do I make this work, right? um in our case, we had the I think we had a little bit of advantage before we have our kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the probably first second year, we talk a lot about when we will have kids, key things that we will have an agreement at that point, and we will stick to it.
Nice. Yeah.
Right. And that has really helped us. Excuse me. And what was the one agreement that up to this day, we have two girls, 8 and 5,
Mm-hmm.
and we have be consistent with that agreement. We agreed at that point, 12 years back, that one thing we will do is to let our kids fail, to help them learn. And then we will be there. We will be there. We will make sure that they will always have a safe spot here with us, that they will always have a place to come back, right, for us. But they will but showing them that failing is part of life, that how they can get strong from that, right? And that I'm explaining all that because that really put us in an advantage position, right? Now that we have our kids, now kids got here into our lives, we're like, oh, has any other parent, like, now what we do, right? We have the kid here. Okay, now what's next? What is the book that tells us what to do? It has been very interesting in, I think, the first years, and I still can see it here and there, how coming from different cultures, especially me trying to, I talk a lot here at home about, what we do, how I was raised, how things I did when I was a kid. And without even thinking, I do things that I can pass on to them and that are completely different or completely new to my husband. Like, what are you doing?
What's an example of that?
Yeah, what are you doing? Or vice versa, right?
Yeah.
An example, in Mexico, we don't talk about certain things, and we don't talk, until certain age, kids, and here is different, right? Here is different, and especially, with my husband, he is, one perfectly good example is we in one day, right, I heard him explaining one of our daughters, well, this is how this machine works, and this has a physics part of it, and then if you put this pressure, and then it goes to this explaining all kind of technical, and she was just like in awe, right? Listening to him, and I'm like, why are you overwhelming the poor kid? She's just a kid. Just tell her, it's a little car that if you put it here, it has wheels. It needs to have round things to move, right? And he's like, no, right? They need to engage, they need to learn, they need to explore, they need to be pushed. And that's his thing always. They need to be pushed, right? I remember at that point, I was like, no. We don't do that push at this early age. I didn't get pushed out of my home until I was ready to get out of, like, no. So for me, it was like I wanted to keep the kids like in a bubble kind of thing. Like, no, they are kids and they don't need to be pushed yet, right? and I learned, right? Yes, that was the way I grew up, but there is a different way and it works too, and it's fine. And there has been, opposite examples, and it's perfectly fine. The example that you were mentioning about your wife, more a holistic approach.
Yeah.
That I could see, as here, everything here, they got a cut, they got a bruise, they beat her because they were running all day long. For everything, I would just go and say, hey, you want to put this cremita, what I call, right, a lotion, for everything. And my husband like, what are you doing? That doesn't even work for us. No, it will help, right? And he's at the beginning, he was like, God, you and your things, you and your ointments, you and your things. Oh my gosh. And through the years, even him, he's like, hey, do you have one of those lotions? Do you have something to put in, that I need? So it's become very interesting. The kids now, they come and say, hey, Mom, can I put some of the little lotion here? Things like that. So children definitely, having children definitely have expand my husband and I opportunity to learn from each other. And I have to say the communication between us have improved because we have two little ones that are following us, right?
Sure.
And we want our both backgrounds, our both ways to do it, our both cultures and traditions for them to be proud of.
Yeah, totally. And it's there's a responsibility there too, right? Like it's to be able to, the thing I got present to yesterday in a post I was sharing was our children are always watching us. They're always learning from us, and what are we modeling for them? Like, what are they learning from both of us? And there's such like a dichotomy, when it comes to, I think that intercultural, it's like, well, Mom does it this way and Dad does it this way. And like, there's, so almost like it's a necessity. And something you mentioned earlier too, about like doing this basically on purpose, like being very intentional with how you want to raise your children. It feels like, it's extremely important, and maybe even more important here when there's just two different like pools or that you're swimming in, right? There's two different, very different approaches to lots of things in a relationship. And, one of the things too, I've noticed, that's available to children in like a intercultural relationship is like access to language, access to different types of language. And it's something that, like I know, like I've always kind of yearned for or wanted, was like to be multilingual or bilingual. And, it's something that, going back to sharing kind of my experience with my wife was not taught like Polish. That generation that came over, like it was frowned down upon. It was frowned upon if you spoke any other language besides English. So that generation didn't teach their children, because it would further like segregate them or further isolate them or make them more different, which, expose them to bullying and things like that. And it's always like, I've always talked to my wife. She's like, I wish she would have taught us. I wish she would have taught us. And with my son, and my son goes to daycare a few days a week. And one of the things that we really wanted was that he would have access to other language. He would have access to other forms or ways to communicate and understand that. And it's, I think it's important. So I'm curious how, like what you notice about language in your home, like certainly with your husband, also like with your children, like what are some of the things that you notice come up for you?
Yes, so for us is a day to day. They unfortunately, our kids, they don't speak Spanish as much as I would like to. Neither my husband. He took when we got married, he took Spanish classes. He speaks a little bit. He understands. When we go visit, he understands what my family or friends are saying. The issue is, we speak too fast. So it's like, it's impossible to understand you there anyway. But in terms of our kids, we both wanted, right? It was one of the other things, like we are going to raise our kids to at least have both languages, right? English and Spanish. We are very fortunate. The school they attend, they have, let me think, 64. They combine all the kids in that school. They combine languages that they are, the backgrounds, different backgrounds. The families attending there.
64
languages.
Wow.
So that is, a wonderful thing, because for our oldest daughter, she has expressed, right, like, hey, I'm trying hard on Spanish. I'll do whatever I want, I can do to learn more and more and to be fluent. But she always also wants to learn more, right? Because she's exposed to more, to friends that speak a different language, dialect. And it's a great thing, not just because of the language portion, but is also, I want to learn this other language, but I want to learn the culture of where this language is spoken, right? And so it is increasing their knowledge, increasing their also their empathy with others, by learning, by able to communicate. That is something that we encourage. And that was one of the other, agreements we had 12 years ago, that, we will raise our kids to be bilingual, at least. My husband, he is, I think third generation. Also, his family came from Germany, and he speaks, words here and there in German.
Nice.
A little bit of French. So we want to encourage the kids to learn, but not just because of, oh, hey, I know how to speak this other language, right? Get into it, learn about the culture, learn about the countries, and then how we can, get the entire package.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how it is going on here, but it's not easy, because, as I mentioned, they are not fluent in Spanish. And most of the days here at home, I'm just taking Spanish, asking questions, asking things to do, and hey, and I can hear around the wall like, what did she say? I don't know. I just say yes. I'll find out later, right? But it is what it is, and I will continue doing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it is the only way. I mean, to get involved and then to learn.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. I have one more question. We're coming up on time here, but I'm curious, like what's maybe a word or a phrase that means something completely different for your husband, and then something completely different for you, if anything comes to mind. And like, for example, there's a story that when Chevy released its Nova in the States, it was a wildly popular car, Nova. And it sold like crazy. And then when they tried to sell it in Mexico, like it would not sell at all. And if you break down Nova, right, means no go, right?
No go.
No go. So why would you buy a car that means no go? So I'm wondering if you notice, like real quick, if something like that you notice, like where it means one thing here, one thing, and the kids are like, "What the heck? We don't know what to do." Yeah. Anything come up to mind for that?
But yes, and it's not necessarily a word, but it's also a cultural thing.
Sure.
We do a lot of, we talk a lot with our hands or with gestures, and it's an eternal complaint. And for him, I think he just gave up. But he asked for something, and I will just say, that's all. And he's like, was that a yes or a no?
Yeah. Nice.
And the kids now, because they listen, they from time to time they repeat it, and he's like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do now? 3 of you. Right? That's what I came to mind when you asked
awesome.
the
question. Awesome. Thanks so much. Yeah, I'm sure more will come to mind too as you notice and after we get off. So Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing just so open and vulnerably. This has been a great conversation, and just really appreciate you. So this has been a World Game Changers podcast. I've been your co-host, Bob Conlin. If you want to keep this conversation going, feel free to reach out. You can reach me at bob@conlincoaching.com. That's CONLIN coaching.com. Take care.
Thanks very much for listening to this World Game Changers podcast episode. Hopefully you found it interesting and helpful. Drop a line to paul@worldgamechangers.org with any thoughts or questions you may have, and he'll be more than happy to respond. Remember, the world is changing. How will you respond?